Welcome to a very special channel, Awake from the Slumber, a channel like no other that says it as it is and proves beyond doubt. My name is Robert Onsando. Today in my breaking news, did you know that Ellen G. White, one of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and who claimed to be a prophetess, died and was buried a sun god worshipper? I'll prove this to you in a few minutes. Sit back and watch to the end. And please inbox me and share with me your response.
Is a picture of an obelisk, a symbol to the sun god, a pagan symbol that I'm sure that we who profess the name of Christ would be disgusted with. The reason I bring that up is God himself had plenty to say about that. He abhorred the altars, the symbols to the false gods. Throughout the Old Testament in particular, he spoke against these symbols, and it was obviously that he hated them. I'm just going to read a couple of passages where these things are discussed. First, reading from Leviticus chapter 26, verse 30. I then will destroy your high places and cut down your incense altars and heap your remains on the remains of your idols, for my soul shall abhor you. Reading from Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 5. But thus you shall do to them. You shall tear down their altars and smash their sacred pillars, and hew down their Asherim and burn their graven images with fire. So it's clear that the Lord hated these symbols and really did not want these around. The picture that I'm holding up now is a picture of the funeral of Ellen White, the prophetess of the SDA Church. Now, in that picture you can see there is a symbol that God hates so much, a symbol to the sun god. Now, in July of 2009, I was in Battle Creek and I stopped by the grave of Ellen White. That obelisk is there. When my name was on the Seventh-day Adventist membership rolls, I made a pilgrimage out to her grave. The obelisk is there. She buried her husband underneath that obelisk. It's a family grave, and so her husband, a number of people are buried under that symbol. So this is a woman who had plenty to say about the Catholic Church and saying that they follow a number of symbols that pay homage to the sun god. And yet she was buried under this symbol. She buried her husband under it. And this woman who had reportedly 2,000 visions, or over 2,000 visions, and actually there's a placard or a marker on the grave that says exactly that she had over 2,000 visions. So yet God never told her to remove this Ashtoreth pole, this obelisk, to Baal. Never told her to remove this pole from her husband's grave, despite all the visions that she had. It seems a little strange that God would not tell her to remove this symbol, but yet she put up the symbol. This woman who's claimed to be the messenger of God, who was claimed to be the lesser light leading to the greater light, this symbol is still there. And not only did she bury her husband underneath it, she herself was buried under it. So I have a quick question for Seventh-day Adventists. Given that this woman drew a salary from the SDA Church, was one of the founders of the SDA Church, was the lesser light leading to the greater light. Quick question. Why do you follow a woman who spoke so much against the sun god, yet, with intent, was buried underneath the symbol of the sun god?
Obelisk. The obelisk is an architectural feature that originated in the Old Kingdom of Egypt around 2300 BC. It is a tall, four-sided, narrow-tapering monument which ends in a pyramid-like shape or pyramidion at the top. Originally, they were called Tikhenu by their builders, the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians would embellish all four sides of the obelisk shaft with hieroglyphs that included religious dedications, most commonly for the sun god Ra, as well as tributes to the rulers. Obelisks would serve as a sundial, and the time of the day was indicated by the movement of the monument's shadows. So, obelisks had a practical purpose. They were essentially a way to tell the time by reading the shadow that it made. One of the most basic symbolic meanings of the obelisk was as an image of the sun's rays. Solar worship was a prime religious belief among the ancient Egyptians. Phallic symbolism was quite common in ancient times and was often depicted in architecture. The obelisk is often considered to be such a phallic symbol, signifying the masculinity of the earth. The obelisk here symbolically represents Geb, the male god, Earth, who sexually contacts with Nut, the female goddess, the sky. Hence, life goes on.
So an obelisk is a monolith. It's made of a single stone. It's square at the base and has a small pyramid at the top.
And commonly, that would be clad in some kind of metal so that it would be highly reflective. And that was appropriate because obelisks were understood by the ancient Egyptians who made them and then by the ancient Romans who imported them as reflective of the divinity of the sun.
So obelisks are associated with the cult of the sun god by both the ancient Egyptians and by the Romans. They symbolize the rays of the sun and often covered in hieroglyphics.